Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me for another video. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to be painting this simple two-color Valentine. I wanted to do something not typical. I didn't want to just do a red heart. I wanted something softer, and I really like pink and gray, so this is quite simple to paint, and I hope you enjoy it. I just want to take a minute to thank everyone who has subscribed to my channel recently because I have not been putting videos out. I've been suffering from a bad back, but it's really great to be back, and I hope this is the start of me putting out more videos on a regular basis. I also want to thank my existing subscribers for sticking with me and for letting me know that they do miss me and they're looking forward to my return. So that being said, let's just jump in and get started. Today I'm using my Baohong Academy cold press watercolor paper. It's 140 pound, 100% cotton. I'm using my Royal Talons Van Gogh paints. I've got a jar of water and a paper towel, and I'm using two brushes today, both my Princeton snap brushes, one in a size 12 round and one in a size 6 round. You will also need a marker for your lettering. I'm using gray. You don't have to use gray. This is a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. I'm not using it for that. I'm only using it because this is the only gray brush I have. So if you don't have a gray brush, just feel free to use black or whatever. That should work just fine. You will also need a pencil and an eraser, scissors, and some masking tape, painter's tape. Don't use plain masking tape, it's too tacky. Try to get some painter's tape. And you will also need a small piece of just some printer paper, bond paper. That's what we're going to use to cut out the shape of the heart. And also, I just want to point out that my sheet size is a little bigger than 5 by 7. When I'm done, I'm going to trim it down to 5 by 7 and glue it to pre-made cards, folded cardstock. Okay, if you don't have that, you can make your sheet bigger, make it the whole card itself. So to start, I'm just going to draw half of a heart. Actually, just get that out of the way. And I'm going to have it just a little rounder at the bottom. I don't want it to have a big point at the bottom. And I don't want it to dip into a really sharp point either, so I'm just going to have it come down just a little bit, not anything crazy. And I think that size looks about right. Now I'm wondering if it's not heart-shaped enough. I don't think it's heart-shaped enough, so I'm going to bring it out a little more over here. I think that's going to be better. Now I'm going to cut it out with my scissors. Now I'm going to just take some painter's tape and I'm just going to stick it to the back and lightly press it down in place, hoping that it's reasonably centered and reasonably straight. It doesn't look too bad. I'm going to start with my size 6 round, and I'm going to start with the pink, and I'm using rose. I'm just using 2 colors for this. I'm going to use rose and a mixture of Payne's gray, which is a little blue, and I don't want a real blue gray, so I'm going to add some neutral tint to that as well, just so it's not too blue. And we just need a wash of it, like a medium wash, nothing too dark. So I'm going to start with just plain water, and I'm just going to tap some water drops on just wherever, doesn't matter. Then I'm going to go into my rose and I'm going to tap some rose on here, just randomly, just like that. Then I'm just going to go into my water. I'm not cleaning the paint off my brush. I'm just going to go in and get some water and just run my brush along the edge of my jar once and just start to drag these out. And you can hold your heart down so you get a sharp edge there. So we're just kind of randomly doing little patches and squiggles of this pink. You can take it right to the edge if you want. And the reason I'm starting with the pink first is I didn't want to put the gray down and then have, when I go in with the pink, have that contaminate the pink. So I wanted to kind of establish where the pink is going first. Okay, so this is just like the fun part. You just have fun with this. And if you find that some of it's dried more than you would like and you're getting harsher edges, you can just kind of scrub at it a bit. Okay, you can go in with heavier pigment of the pink. Remember, it's going to dry lighter, holding that heart down so it doesn't kind of bleed underneath. Because we didn't draw the heart shape, so this kind of background is going to tell us where to actually paint the heart. So now we're going to go in and do the same thing with the gray mixture. Okay, so I'm just going to tap some of it down. Sorry if my lighting's not right because I haven't painted in so long. I'm actually cleaning a little more of the paint off of this one because it is dark and I don't want it to be really dark when I'm done. Okay, so again, just kind of dragging it out. It's almost like a marbly kind of effect. You can go over the pink to mix them together. So I'm going to get some of that gray mixed in with this pink here, just to kind of marry those colors up a bit. And just go right to the edge. And just take a look at it and, you know, decide if you want to put a little bit more pink in there. By all means. I think I'll just do a nice wash of pink up here. Maybe drag some down to the corner. Oh dear, I stuck my hand under there and it's bleeding under the heart. Take a little bit of gray. And I think that's it. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Actually, I lied. I'm going back in, aren't I? I always do. I want just a little bit more of the gray in there. I should have done this earlier and actually pointed out that go off the heart so you don't get paint underneath the heart, but you know, I'm sure it'll be fine. So now we're just going to let this dry, but I'm going to actually speed it up with my heat tool. Okay, so it's not 100% dry, but it's dry enough, and I can see, now that I've taken the heart off, that it did bleed a little more than I like. So I'm just going to take my number 6 brush and try to scrub at this area, because the pink that I'm going to use for the heart is not very dark, and I don't want this pink to kind of show underneath. So I'm just going to kind of scrub at that a bit, and hopefully I can pick some of it up. I think that's good enough. It'll do the job. Now that it's reasonably dry, I want to put the heart back on in place because I want to protect that heart. But I do want to go in and add a bit of splatter. So I'm going to go in with my pink. And same thing with the gray. I don't want to get too carried away with it, so that should do. We don't need our heart anymore. And look at this, it got under the heart again. No worries. Can you tell I'm a little out of practice? It just feels like forever since I've painted. It has been. Okay, so now I'm going to dry the splatters. If I were you, I would just let them dry on their own, just so you don't kind of blow them around, or just use a hairdryer or your heat tool on low. Okay, so now that our splatters are dry, I got impatient and turned the speed up on my heat tool, and you can see how it's kind of made the splatters go out, but that's okay. I'm not too concerned. Now for the heart, I'm going to use my size 12 brush. And I want a fairly light wash. I don't want my heart to be really vivid. I want it to be nice and subtle. And what I want to do is I want to give some dimension to it. So I want to have a little bit of a highlight at this top edge and this side edge. And I'm probably going to put in a little bit of a shadow down on this side. So I'm going to start and do this wet by wet. No, I'm going to do it wet in wet. So I'm just going to wet the whole heart. And it's okay that your water's a little tinted at this point. Probably just help things along, actually. At least you'll know where you've already put water. And I'm going to try to do the highlight just by doing bleeds, and if not, I'll have to do some lifting out, but we'll see how it goes just by starting off with bleeding it wet into wet. See if we can get that highlight that I want. Okay, so I'm just going to tip my heart just to make sure I've got it wet everywhere that I want. Now we're going to go in with a wash of this pink. And like I say, because I want to highlight down this side, I'm just going to come up the very edge of it. Then I'm going to leave a white space there and up there. And like I say, if it fills in more than I want, then I could just lift it up with my brush. And I'm starting off light. I may make this a little bit darker. I just didn't want it too dark. And I think it will have to be a little bit darker, just a touch. I just really hesitate because I just so don't want it really bright. but it will dry lighter, of course. It's too dark on this edge. I don't want it that dark. Maybe I'll just let it dry and see what it looks like. And if I'm not happy with the shape of the shape of the heart, I can always maybe outline it if I want. I'm trying not to do that because I want it to have some dimension. Actually, I'm going to fill this in because I don't like that highlight. I'm going to take the highlight out by lifting. And I'm going to use my number 6 brush for that because I want a little more control. Okay, so I'm just cleaning it off, tapping it off on my paper towel, and just going to do a nice highlight up in this corner of the heart. And down this edge. And you can see I have to go at it a few times because it's so wet, the paint is seeping back into the heart. What I don't like is this, where the pink's gone over the gray, and you get that kind of, you know, overlaid effect, but I didn't want to do this with masking fluid. I wanted to try to keep it as simple as I could. Okay, so we've got our little highlight there. Now we're going to let this dry. I'm going to speed this up with my heat tool. Okay, so because I don't like where this pink has overlapped the gray, the pink from the heart has overlapped the gray and the pink, and you're getting these darker edges, I'm going to see if I can kind of maybe disguise those a little bit by just going up to them with more color and then dragging that out just to make it a little less obvious. Like here, it's really obvious because it's a light section, so I'm just going to come up to it. And then drag that gray out. And again here. Just so it becomes more part of the background than, you know, overlapping on the heart. I hope that makes sense. And the same with some of those pink areas, like here. So it kind of separates the heart a bit without it looking like it was so much of an overlap issue. So we've got our highlight on the left side of the heart. Now I want to put a little bit of a shadow down this right side, just to give it a little more dimension. I'm probably going over the heart a little more than I wanted to. Okay, and I'm just going to clean off my brush, get most of the water off, and just blend this out. This one's not blending very well down here. Just to soften it up a little more. Just like that, just gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay, so now we want to let that dry completely, and then we can put our writing on top. So now it's dry and we're ready for our writing. I had actually pre-written mine because I'm not comfortable getting a straight line or getting it centered, but if you're comfortable doing that, you can just write your whatever words you want right on top. I just wrote it out and then I just kind of scribbled my pencil on the back, so I'm going to transfer it over. So this way I get to make sure that it's straight and make sure that it's centered. Right about there, I think ought to do it. And I'm just going to go over it with my pencil. And you can just see it, well, you probably can't see it on camera, but it's very faint, but it's there. It's enough for me to have a guideline. And that's it. So now we can take the tape off, and then I will trim it to the 5x7 size that I need. So there you go. There is your simple kind of abstract 2-color Valentine card. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. It's been so long since I painted for you and I really miss it. So if you do give this a try and you're on Instagram, as I always say, please be sure to share and tag me so I can have a look. It's great to be back and I hope to be back soon. So I will see you in the next one.